is an exciting acquisition. It increases our sustainable yield in the South by 11%.
I'm here today with Dave Nunes, President and CEO of Rayonier. Rayonier recently announced new acquisitions of timberlands located in Texas, Georgia, Alabama, and Louisiana. Why is now a good time to expand your U.S. portfolio in the South?
Well, first of all, I'd say we're very excited to add these lands to our portfolio. This is an exciting acquisition. It increases our sustainable yield in the South by 11%. To your timing question, you really oftentimes don't have that flexibility, so you have to be sort of ready when a good property comes to market. And I think in this case, it was a particularly outstanding property for lots of reasons. One, it was very productive. The soils are very productive, but secondly, the markets were very strong. A lot of these are in the higher quartile markets in the U.S. South. And then lastly, the stocking was very high. This had an average age of 18 and a very high stocking level that translates to a much higher sustainable yield of 4.8 tons per acre versus our legacy assets at 3.5. And so it's really going to ultimately translate to a big boost in cash flows. And that at the end of the day, that's really a big part of the driver. And then lastly, these are in areas that we already operate in. And so your execution risk is pretty low because we're very familiar with these markets.
And Rayonier has a land resources team that regularly seeks new opportunities to use your land more efficiently. Can you talk about some of the recreational opportunities and non-timber products that Rayonier invests in to provide alternative energy sources and other benefits?
Yeah, this is an area I'm kind of excited about because I think we've approached it a little differently. Historically, forestry companies have gone to foresters in the field and say, hey, in your free time, could you do manage some of these non-timber income types of opportunities? And, as people get busier, that they have less time for that. And we've taken a different approach where we've got dedicated resources, and we do that both with dedicated folks in the field who are embedded in our resource units, and then a centralized group. And so, fast forward, we have distinct businesses that we have that cover leases from a whole array of things. We have hunting and recreational leases, which are obviously a big component from a dollar standpoint, but we also have a lot of other smaller scale leases, but they're just as important, and they range from everything from minerals, pine straw, fill dirt, beekeeping. We even have medicinal berries that come off of our lands that go into the pharmaceutical industry, and floral greens that get shipped all over the world. And then more recently, we've had leases around. We have our first solar lease, our first wind farm lease, and we have cell towers, billboards. So it's when you add all of that up, it not only sort of covers our property taxes to let the trees continue to grow, but it also contributes a meaningful part to our dividend. And so we're pretty proud of it. It's a small piece of the pie, but we have a lot of ownership from the people that manage it.
Rayonier has decades of experience in New Zealand. How has your work there with the Maori people influenced the company's values when it comes to guardianship and protection of your forests?
Yeah, so we've been in New Zealand for about 30 years, and we've had a lot of deep relationships with Maori tribes throughout the country. Keep in mind, a lot of our lands in New Zealand are long-term leases, and so the various Maori organizations are the ones that are the underlying landowner. And one of the things, as I've gotten to know the culture there, that I've been particularly impressed with, there's a term called kaitiakitanga, and it translates to guardianship. And the more I understood it, the more it kind of resonated with me, because it ties to how we think about the land. And one of the things about forestry that I tell people, forestry is an act of faith. You put a seedling in the ground, you're not going to be around to harvest that. It'll grow for 20 to 40 years, depending on the species and the region. And so what you're trying to do is is nurture that and then hand it off to the next person, and I think that spirit is captured in that word and then in the meaning that it has. And so I've always liked using that as a way to describe it. And you know, we've taken it a step further in New Zealand, and we developed a really unique JV structure there with one Maori group that we've now replicated, where they are contributing their revenue stream from the land rental. We're contributing the expertise around growing the seedling and kind of nurturing it, and then in the end we share in the revenue stream from it. And it's a very innovative structure, and it's one that's been fun to both educate the Maori tribes, and now we've replicated it with others. And so I'm really excited to kind of see how that develops over time.